Hey guys, it's Soralum1 and welcome back to Quick Impressions. It's been, what, over a year or two now? Anyways, today I would like to thank Square Enix for providing me with a review copy of Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on what I've played so far. First off, if you're worried about spoilers for this video, don't be. I will only say vague things about the story and show gameplay clips from the first few chapters of the game. So I guess you could say I'm giving you, if anything, a minor spoiler warning, but I'm not making this a story-focused video this time around. I just want to give you my thoughts on what it's like playing the game. I'm someone who has completed the original Final Fantasy VII this year and did a good bit of the optional stuff as well, so I do have experience with playing the original game. Going from PS1 to PS4, the presentation of the remake is breathtaking. The graphics are amazing, colors are vibrant, and every area is filled to the brim with detail and chattering NPCs. It's not perfect though, as you will come across some low-res textures and several lower-budget scenes where the lip sync leaves much to be desired. But the higher budget cutscenes have Square flexing their obsession with amazing presentation full force. It's obvious, Square made the main story cutscenes the top priority and made sure to absolutely nail it. And it's safe to say, with the music, they also got it on lock. Not every single track trumps the original, but most songs hit the same feeling the original did while adding a new dimension and atmosphere to the song. It's guaranteed to be something you react to if you played the original. There are also original tracks added in as well, which do sound pretty good, so on the music front they got us all covered. On top of that, although it's an English dub I've been playing, the voice acting is pretty good. I'd say above average over most English dubs.
You gonna stand there and pretend you can't hear the player crying out in pain? I know you can!
Get help.
The new voice cast are all really good with their voices. Cloud sounds just as good as Steve Burton to me, and I'm super happy with Aerith finally getting a good voice for the first time ever. Sephiroth, on the other hand, not a fan. I miss George Newbern.
You are too weak to save anyone.
Get this guy out of here. But overall, I am very impressed with the voice cast in this remake, and most of the dialogue writing has conversations that feel free-flowing and natural. The only thing I'm going to comment about with the story is that it's an absolute delight to see scenes from the original Final Fantasy VII brought to life with HD graphics and good voice acting. They get me hype every single time. However, there are also many more times in this remake than I expected where I'm playing and I have to ask myself, wasn't this supposed to be a remake of Final Fantasy VII? Make of that what you will, I'm gonna leave it at that and maybe talk about it in a future spoiler video in depth if you guys are interested. So leave me a comment if you want to see that. The game is structured into chapters and then puts you into linear areas that cover the story of that chapter well. It's not open world, but does offer explorable pathways and the occasional small puzzle for you to find chests and materia. You always have a mini-map with an objective marker so you know where to go or at least have an idea of it. This structure is fine for me since I'm not crazy about open world games personally, but there is one major disadvantage to this system with what they tried to do besides the fact that you can't just explore every corner of Midgar on your own, and that is these. Good God, all over the internet in every review of this game, I see so many people giving massive praise to the side quests of this game like it's the best thing since sliced bread, and I could not disagree more. Every once in a while, in a chapter, you will be given the option to do several side quests to help the people of Midgar or just continue the story. Here's the kicker though, since this game is not open world, you are kind of strong-armed into doing every single side quest your first time through if you value your time because again, this game is not open world, and when you proceed through the story, the quests are gone with no way of revisiting them unless you go back and replay the chapter the quest will appear on. Here's the thing, even with a chapter select, the quests don't usually appear in the chapter until the very end of the chapter, so if you're planning to go back in time and play some quests, you can skip cutscenes, but you'll probably still have to deal with hours of fighting your way back and tons of walk and talk unskippable segments like these. That's not even the time it takes to play the quests, that's the time it takes to get the opportunity to play them. Can you see how this is a problem? If you could play the quests at any time in the story, this wouldn't be an issue, but because of this chapter structure, you are doomed to chapter replay purgatory unless you do all the quests on your first run through like I've been doing. And how are the quests exactly? Well, they range from basically nothing at all to annoying multi-part fetch quests or hunting jobs. These quests are all about as generic as you can possibly get with any open world game. In fact, I'm sure you could copy and paste all of the quests I've played so far and put them in any other game where you fight monsters and they wouldn't feel one bit out of place there. Another thing that bugs me is you'll get to do a side quest area and be like, okay, so I just have to do 3 quests. I can do that. But oftentimes when you complete a quest, the person you helped will be like, hey, thanks. You know, there's this guy on the street here that could use your help. And then a new quest opens and then you beat that quest and this guy is like, oh, you know, my grandson, he lost his leg. Could you go help him? That's not a real quest, but you know what I'm saying. Because of this, there was one time I thought I only had to play 3 quests, but I ended up playing 7, really putting a damper on the pace of this already stretched out Midgar in one part. God, why would you ever do all of Midgar in one part storyline pacing? Every time I beat a quest and it turns into a new quest, I lose all of my hair. I know you could always tell me they're optional, and I get that, but they're just not fun. And none of them that I have played so far have done anything to serve the characters or anything beyond NPC world building. I hate them, and you know what? Cloud Strife agrees with me.
This sucks.
I'm glad me and Cloud can at least share the pain together if we're gonna do these. I really hope that later on there's some kind of godlike side quest that makes me love all the rest of these side quests and changes my perspective, because right now these are the textbook definition of padding. Now onto a better note, the combat of this game is fun. You would think being a Kingdom Hearts player I would try to use the shortcuts to keep things as real time as possible, but I found myself almost exclusively using tactical mode because I was a big player of the original 4.hack games, so I felt right at home with the added benefit of multiple playable characters. Now, I will say physical attacks don't leave much impact and do very little damage to most enemies unless they are staggered, but mixing it up between them and your skills has the combat move at a nice pace. Everything is very responsive with the exception of going from attacking to defending. You need to hard commit to your attacks in this game, and because of that, you can have started an attack 5 seconds ago, back when an enemy wasn't doing anything, but be punished for it because an enemy decided to start his attack 2 seconds ago. And even if you react to that enemy starting his attack and start holding block, you won't actually defend yourself because of your animation. Blocking is slow and you take damage anyway, and dodging has no iframes and is only for moving a certain distance, so you can't really use it like a traditional action game dodge. Outside of that, you get some defense buffing skills, but that's it. So I do consider offense super strong in this game and defense a bit weak. And it does feel very much like a momentum-based combat system. Find yourself on the back foot with your party members needing to recover, and you will have a hard time recovering because every recovery option costs ATB, and you can only regain ATB by actively interacting with enemies instead of retreating. So for me, this becomes a game of establishing momentum and then keeping it and ensuring all party members have above 60% health at all times. And when I play it like that, it's very fun. It's a bit sad that limit break attacks are very rare now. As far as I know, your limit break only goes up significantly in battle when you're taking a lot of damage or when you stagger an enemy. In mob fights, the enemies often die too quickly for you to build limit break off of good staggers, and when you do find a new fight, the gauge is back at 0, so limit breaks are often only seen in a very long story required mob fight or a boss battle. I would have liked to see the limit gauge carry over its progress to the next battle by default instead of feeling like I have to use my limit break now on this last enemy because it'll be gone next fight. It is also a bit disappointing to see that summons have been made so they're only usable in specific battles and not anywhere. Probably as a balancing move, but it feels a lot more out of your control because of this. Less like it's your summon and more like you're in a special event battle. But overall, the tactical combat is fun to play and engaging with me, only having a couple pet peeves that break the flow. Even though I didn't get all the cinematics on this kill, I had a blast setting up all of our strengths and going for this final blow, and using your party to the fullest is where this combat system shines the most. Outside of combat, you have systems to decide your skills. In this game, to do that, you use materia, and I'm happy to say the materia system works pretty much exactly the same as the original, with only a new summon materia slot being separated. With that being said, maybe this will change in the endgame, but the variety of materia at your disposal seems a lot smaller, with very little use for the pair slots coming up in my playthrough so far. But eventually, I was able to find a pairable elemental materia out in the field. Yeah, thanks for nothing, Chadley. Which I was able to use on Tifa to get her physical attacks to have a lightning effect. Combining that with Tifa's unbridled strength physical skill buff has made my Tifa a god among all Shinra machines. I hope to see the materia system become as expanded as the original later in the game and as the series goes on, but hey, it's a start. On top of materia, there's also a new weapon upgrade system in which you level up your weapons and spend SP to then upgrade your stats or even unlock more materia slots on the weapon. It's a simple, but I think great addition that gives you more of that classic RPG sense of progress as you go along, and also enables weapons like the Buster Sword to be viable in the late game if you want Cloud to keep his iconic weapon. Overall, besides some story concerns looming over my mind, Final Fantasy VII Remake has been a fun game to run through and admire the scenery along the way. Beautiful graphics, engaging combat system, and a wonderful reimagining of the old soundtrack keep me going. Until next time, I've been Sir Alum1, and I'll catch you guys later.